Oh my god.
Please.
Oh my god. It's a tendon.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to
The Evo Asterisk podcast.
With Jeannie.
And Luis.
Well, we just watched Stop Motion. And I guess we should talk a little bit about who directed it. Directed by Robert Morgan.
Written by Robert Morgan and Robin King, but Robin King gets top billing.
Yes. It is from 2023.
Fairly recent.
You're going to say that.
I'm always going to say it.
Oh, well, if you're listening to this 10 years from now, it wouldn't be fairly recent, but that's okay. I am going to read the very, very short description. A stop-motion animator struggles to control her demons after the loss of her overbearing mother. That is it. Now, we didn't even know that part. We knew nothing.
Yeah, all I
As
knew
usual.
is that there was some stop motion involved.
We assumed that. So this is the non-spoiler portion of our discussion. So we're going to give you a general overview and our thoughts about the film. This is about, as you know, we saw, a stop-motion animator. Now, what's interesting about this is that this animator, a woman, works with her mother. Her mother is a famous stop-motion animator. She's world-renowned, probably. Her mother is getting up there in years, and she's trying to finish a film, and she's having some trouble with her arthritis, so her daughter helps her and becomes her hands, so to speak. She's being directed by her mother, and there's a lot of control involved. So the daughter is moving the puppets in millimeters, and then taking the shot. But the mother is telling her exactly where to move the puppet, exactly by how much, distance. She's also telling her when to take the shot. It's very controlling. So that's the stage is set for this. It's very, very stoic. It's a very cold relationship between mother and daughter. And I should say that we can say that this is our second podcast. The first one was You Are Not My Mother. So now we get a similar mother-daughter type of relationship.
In case we actually decide to put them out in that order, yes, this is number 2.
I think we will. I think we will. I like the idea of doing that.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to them in order, you're going to think that this is all about multi-generational female drama / horror. But that's not where we're going to be going all over the place, and our horror is going to extend the boundaries of time and space. But right now, that's what we're doing. But this is a very different film from the other one. But I say multi-generational because there's yet another younger character that's a little girl. Not necessarily generational and all related, but there's a little girl involved in this story.
Definitely female led.
Yeah. So
the man in this are kind of, on the side.
Yeah, I feel like we're
they
talking
don't really
about
matter
the same
that
film.
much to the storytelling, at least.
Exactly.
And I definitely the male character is very weak.
Yes.
I think.
And that happened last time.
But I think this movie, what's interesting about it is that it's supposedly a horror movie. That Jeannie and I agree is just not scary at all.
No.
At all.
And I usually, and if you've been listening to the podcast, you'll probably notice that I get scared. And if you listen to them out of order, probably a lot of scare reactions from me, and I get really freaked out. And the one that we did last time, yes, I got scared, even if I gave it a mild thumbs up. But this one, absolutely not at all. In fact, you were more startled than I was.
I don't know if I was startled. It just...
You had a reaction a few times.
It got some visceral reactions just in terms of the visuals. Oh No.
Now, why are you getting all scared?
Oh.
This isn't scary to me at all.
It's not scary. It's just shocking.
It's not even startling me. No, so that didn't even scare me.
That startled me. Yes.
It's funny that you got startled from that.
It wasn't scaring me. It was just shocking visually. A few shots.
Yes.
You know.
Which I thought
I think
were,
that's what did it for me.
I had a ho-hum reaction to those.
And it's interesting because you have a horror movie that's very clinical, very cold. It takes some shortcuts in terms of storytelling that do no service to it because at points we don't understand exactly what's happening in terms of, why is she in this place? Why is she not in the original place? You know, things that we will discuss more in depth at the spoiler section.
Yeah.
But it kind of it takes some leaps and doesn't stick the landing, and I could say it doesn't stick the landing in more ways than one.
Yes.
I consider this something that really, swings for the fences and misses.
Yes.
There's the visual language is definitely there, and the stop motion stuff, which I think the director is known for. He's done a lot of shorts with stop motion. It's outstanding.
I think that is cool, but it's not scary.
No, not at all.
And in some ways, I wanted to get like the Brothers Quay or something, and I have a little bit of background and interest in stop motion. In fact, it's actually, I'm very excited about it. But I just found this, maybe in context, wasn't that exciting. Maybe in a better context, a scarier context, a more intriguing context, it would have been better. And the other issue is that the stop motion film that her mother was working on, that had a cyclopean female character,
yeah, it's
and
kind of mythological.
Yes, and she has apparently done a Medusa rendition at some point. It was intriguing because it had more of that classic feel to it. But yet the other film that ends up happening, and again, this is not a spoil, there's another film that you see that's being made. It's like it's supposed to be the main event here this film. And I didn't find that storyline interesting at all.
I have a theory, which will be talked about in the spoiler section, on why the second film, the one Ginny doesn't find too exciting, is more boring and more mundane.
Okay.
And less interesting.
So yeah, sometimes Luis might blurt out something and he'll go bloop bloop.
I'm just avoiding the sound effect.
Bloop bloop. Yeah. So no spoilers.
The spoiler sound effect. Because if I say a spoiler, she's gonna bleep me.
I will bleep.
And it's gonna sound ridiculous.
It'll sound really bad. So what? And I'm not talking about me bleeping him in a vocal way. There's going to be a strange sound that will appear in this podcast.
Like you heard in the first podcast.
If you listen to it, yes. Okay, so one thing that might help, because we love doing the spoiler part, so we're going to have to really try to not give away anything, but maybe what would help is if we talked a little bit more about maybe the different characters that are involved, and that way there's an understanding of the context of the film, that we won't talk a whole lot about the plot, but get to the point where it's sort of an overarching thing. We know there's the mother. The mother's cold. The mother's well known. She's having issues with arthritis. She has a very cold relationship with her daughter. She's utilizing her daughter in order to make her last film.
One last film.
And so there's that relationship. Then the daughter has a boyfriend, and that
he calls himself a musician, but I guess he's a musician.
But he is a musician because that's very important to him in life.
Yeah.
But he's also works. Apparently, he manages these buildings because at one point he gives his girlfriend access to a particular room in a building. So we know he has an executive, as Luis said, an executive type job, but that it involves managing property.
Interesting. I guess that was never fully made clear
Yeah,
by the
it
movie.
wasn't that clear.
Yeah, because I was legit thinking
Yeah.
that he was, because of something that she says eventually in the movie, that he was really just like a music executive that's not really making
Oh
music.
no, I don't think he's involved.
But
in
maybe
music.
maybe it's
No,
more what
that's
Jeannie's
his-
saying, that he
that's
has
his
a day
love.
job where he wears a suit and where he manages different properties or something.
And
like
that's
that.
his love, is music. He is a musician. And actually, that's an interesting concept that we can talk about without spoilers, is that the artistic talent is explored, I would say, in an interesting way in the film. There's the protagonist, which is the daughter of this famous mother who obviously has this wonderful talent for stop motion. Then we've got the daughter. So we've got the famous mother with great talent, completely recognized. Everybody thinks she's amazing. Got the daughter who hasn't come into her own yet, is kind of under the thumb of the mother, but wants to do something.
Or maybe doesn't have a true passion for
Maybe.
it, unlike her mother.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And then we've got the boyfriend who is a musician and calls himself a musician and believes in himself as a musician. But he has to make a living, so he's doing other things, possibly managing property. Then the boyfriend has a sister. The sister works for what we think is an ad agency, right?
It's not it might be a production company that works with agencies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. A creative agency that
Yeah.
maybe works with ad agencies. You're right. Or the creative arm of an ad agency. And what's interesting about her is that she also does stop motion and maybe part of maybe some various other things, but forms of animation for clients.
With a key differential, it sounds or it looks like they use CG sometimes.
Right.
It looks like they use motion interpolation.
Exactly.
So instead of going frame by frame
I
by
call
frame,
it tweening.
yeah, but that's the original
That's
term.
old-fashioned
Yeah.
for cell.
Instead
yeah.
of going frame by frame by frame by frame,
They
they
might-
just have the keyframes and they have a computer.
And they
you know,
extrapolate. Yeah.
extrapolate from
And
that.
they go from point A to point B. Okay, so there's different elements of talent here. What's also interesting, and again, I think it's fine to say, is that you come to know that the protagonist definitely has kind of a sense of herself, possibly because of her mother. Her mother's well known, and her mother is sort of a snob about being well known, and she doesn't really treat her daughter very well. She also controls her daughter a lot and basically tells her daughter, in so many words, that her daughter's just a quote unquote puppet. And she even calls her poppet, like one of my least favorite words.
Okay.
Pocket.
Oh no, I hate when people say poppet. That meat looks purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not working.
Looked good to me.
We need to do it again.
As she
There's
literally
that-
says to her daughter at some point, "You're just the hands. My hands don't work anymore. I need
Exactly.
yours."
And there's some other things said later on that makes you feel that the mother never believed in her daughter and always felt that she never had an idea of her own that was compelling enough. That nothing on her own was interesting and intriguing and worthwhile to share with the world. So sort of like she's bereft of true or creative talent. But what's interesting, if you couple that with the almost snob attitude that the protagonist has for not only her boyfriend's sister's situation, because she works for possibly an ad agency, creative agency, and they're dealing with clients, and she said something like, I would kill myself if I ever had to work in an office like that, something like that. I would rather die or something. She can't even imagine having to work for a client and put something creative together for a client, or do something that's more commercial, because like her mother, she sort of aligns herself with her mother as, being this wonderful art for art's sake type of creative talent. And then the boyfriend, she even says later on, "Oh, you're not a musician. You just
Yeah.
put a suit on."
Exactly.
So she's attacking people for their various ways of interpreting their creative talent. And I thought that was interesting because people do that all the time. People will talk down to people or patronize, condescend to other people who are maybe using their creative talent for something that services maybe advertising and services other types of things.
Like
and
they're
works
sellouts.
with clients.
They're
Like
sellouts.
they're selling out.
Yeah.
And I understand that whole mentality when she attacked the guy for being a musician. You're not a musician. I understand. I mean, I'm a musician. So, okay. So I'm a composer. I started doing that very early on in my life. I don't care what anybody says. I'm an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And also a writer. And Luis is a writer as well.
Yeah, I'm a writer
And so,
by heart as well.
That we feel that, and who no one has the right to say, you're not a talented person or you're not an artist.
At heart, but yeah.
So it shows that it attacked that idea, which I did like, but I have to jump to the punchline. I give this movie sadly a thumbs down.
Gina did not like it at all.
I don't like doing that, but and we can also talk about the meaning of horror. Yes, there were horrific elements. They didn't come in until kind of later on, and I thought some of them were forced.
There's some body horror in it for sure.
But I didn't feel that it was scary, and I don't even know that it knew how to be scary for anybody, really. I don't think it was a scary movie at all.
Yeah, for me, it's a qualified thumbs up. It's only a thumbs up because it has an approach to horror that I find it interesting on an intellectual level. It's visually, shocking. It may have an impact on you from that perspective. The biggest problem is really the storytelling part of it. Mm-hmm. The characters.
The characters are unlikable.
Yeah, and
that's a problem.
And what happens to these characters?
We don't care.
Now, in the spoiler section, I will talk about an overarching theory that I have.
Yes.
But
and I know where you're going with that. I think.
But basically, it fails at fulfilling that promise.
Yes.
Of having like scary stuff that happens with stop motion. I think Coraline did a much better job.
Yeah, Coraline was great.
Did a much better job.
Of course,
something
but
like
you're talking about you're comparing.
I know, but it's still stop motion, and it's
oranges.
almost a thing for kids that ends up being terrifying.
But it's
so
for
clearly the
adults,
terrifying side of things,
too.
the scary side of things, is not a given in horror. And it's funny because when someone does a horror film that's interesting, but it's not necessarily scary, which happens a lot with elevated horror. Mm-hmm. We notice it.
Yeah.
True horror fans will notice it because we prefer something that scares us and it's not as good versus something that doesn't scare us, but it's supposed to be good.
But I like atmospheric stuff. So if this had the right atmosphere, it would have been fine. It didn't have to have a bunch of jump scares. It didn't have to make me go, woo, or startle me or anything like that. It could have just been, intriguing, ooh, or a sense of dread or something like that. Now, I will say that the very, very beginning of this film, again, not a spoiler, it's just an element that happened at the beginning, and I wish they would have continued on with it because they could have done so much with it. But, it was, in my opinion, genius and overpromised. This film was going to be quite elevated.
Yeah.
At the beginning, and we can both talk about how to describe it because it might be a little difficult to describe. You see the main character, and she looks like she might be in a club.
Club, yeah.
Okay. And there are different lights flashing, different colored lights flashing right over her face. You have a real close in on her. It's like this is the only time I feel like I had any insight into this person throughout the whole. After that, I didn't even know who she was really. But you kind of zero in on her and you see all these different lights flashing, and then every time lights flash, she almost looks like she's making a different expression or face.
Well, all those
and she
lights
could turn into some monster
of
during
different
that
colors
time.
and different intensities and are coming from different places, different
angles,
different types of key lights.
Exactly.
And because they're lighting her face from different angles, is basically changing the way her face looks.
Yes.
And not only that, but because it's different
She
colors,
changes her
different
expression a
colors
little
will
bit, too.
basically affect the skin in different ways.
Right.
So once you put those together, it was a very arresting image because he was showing someone being kind of multifaceted
Yes.
and looking like 25 different people.
Right.
You know, just from the way the lighting was
to me,
hitting
it
her
wasn't
face.
as much also about a different person. It's about different expressions, feelings of, ooh, I could be seeing one person in so many different ways, and it almost looked like it was scary.
Yeah,
it was scary,
it was
and
creepy
it was
for
almost
sure.
looked like the expressions were being changed. Ooh. Already, I could see something very scary being done with this technique. It's creepy. Again, that doesn't give you any spoilers. It happens right at the beginning of the movie. But it was so intriguing that I thought, ooh, if they're going to use that at all because of the stop motion aspect, because you can see the lights being a form of stop motion, right? Jerk, 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 boom, 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 boom. Then that would be cool. But they didn't do that. And I want to say, again, I love stop motion. And seeing any sort of stop motion is very interesting to me. But sadly, I felt that it wasn't used in a way that was intriguing at all in this film.
I think that we need to go into the spoiler section.
Really? Are you sure?
I am quite sure.
Did we leave out any character? There is one more character. But maybe you're right. We need to go to the spoiler section to talk about that character, which we did mention briefly. Okay, so spoiler section begins.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler.
Okay, we're going to do the 5.
5,
4, 3, 2,
1. Spoilers. Beep.
Burp.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. So
Now.
should we start with my theory?
Yeah, go ahead. Start with your theory.
Okay.
I think I know what it is now.
So my theory, first, it's obvious that the little girl, the younger version, it's not real. It's just her when she's younger.
Well, you just threw that in, but what's your theory?
But it's obvious.
What's your
But I need to say
overarching
that
theory?
first for my theory to
Well,
make sense.
I think that anybody who's used to watching horror films will immediately know
figure that out.
And we should say why.
It's a foundation of my theory. I'm just saying, I am saying
Okay.
on my
I'll
theory,
do it later. Okay,
the
go
little
on.
girl is her when she's younger.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In my theory, I think the mother is the girl that's in the woods running from the scary man, the Ash Man, which is the big villain in this.
The mother.
And the mother.
Interesting.
And I think the mother gets raped. And I think that this main character, the protagonist, is a product of that. And I think that that's why the second story is so mundane. Because basically, the little girl knows she's a product of that, and the mother's being traumatized by it. That's why the mother's so cold. And that's why the mother's so cold toward her. So there's many sequences in this
it's kind
where
of a leap, in my opinion.
well, kind of, but yeah, but that's my theory. Basically, the little girl was there to the story of the second movie that she gets forced or thrust upon.
Can we talk
the
about the
protagonist.
little girl before we just throw
Wait a
the
minute.
little girl in? Can
The
we
second,
just introduce
the
the little
second
girl?
movie happens because those memories need to emerge.
Okay, let's talk about the little girl. The little girl shows up in this new location that the protagonist has moved to.
Good point. Yes.
That the boyfriend has set up for her because he has access to all these places. Apparently, has something to do with real estate. We don't know. Okay, so she is going to this new. Now, why is she in a new location? Why is she no longer working with her mother? Because her mother has what we think could be a stroke fairly soon after the beginning of the film. I mean, they're working
10,
together.
15 minutes in or something.
Yeah, and it's she's being very cold, and then she's like, do this, and all of a sudden she's like, "Rah!" And you think, oh wow, this is going to be an interesting story about the mother and the daughter interaction.
That was strong,
You feel
and that was
like
working, but that gets
was
dumped
strong.
kind of immediately.
And then it gets dumped. Why? Because the mother has this apparent stroke. She's in the hospital. So pretty much for the rest of the movie, she's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Stella Gabon or something, or
Something
Gabé,
like that.
we should look that up. The person who plays the mother has an end credit. She's apparently been in a lot of movies. Nicholas Nickleby, a bunch of other things. She is posing.
Stella Gonnet.
Gonnet. Okay. or Gonay, or I'm not
Yeah.
sure how to pronounce it. But she is posing in IMDb at a piano, a grand piano, which might be interesting. I don't know if she's a professional pianist as well as an actress. But anyway, probably a fairly well-known actress that we should know about, but don't know her by name. She looked a little familiar. She ends up in the hospital. And for the rest of the movie, she's basically out cold. Although she comes to life, possibly
Briefly.
but we'll see. Okay, so going back to why does the protagonist see this little girl? She has now moved out of the house where she's staying, probably temporarily anyway, to help her mom with her film. She leaves that space. I don't know why though.
It's never explained.
Why doesn't
and
she
that's
just
a
stay
huge
there?
problem because
her mom isn't dead. Her house isn't sold. Her mom's in the hospital.
Yeah.
So
why not stay
maybe
in the
she's in a
place
coma.
she's already shooting the film?
Yeah, she might
Is
be
it
in a
because
coma.
her mom was shooting the other film there
and
it's
she
already
didn't
set
want,
for the
but
first
she
one?
took the entire set
Yeah, she
of the
took the
mom's
set.
film. She was going to continue with the Cyclops
It's just
thing.
not warranted.
That doesn't make any
It's a
sense.
mistake.
Another reason why I had a thumbs down, because there were things like, why? Like, it doesn't even serve the story. I can understand why, we need to do it this way because it'll serve the story. It doesn't really
Well, he
do
needed to
anything.
transform the real life location, real quote unquote,
What?
into basically the location from the second story, the red walls and stuff.
You
it's
could have
weird.
done that with the house, and
I
the house
know,
could have had
it-
red walls.
It's like
it could have been
it's like force.
I don't- yeah.
Pushing,
forced.
forcing the movie's structure to conform to some arbitrary
Yeah.
thing that he
I don't
needed
know
to make
why.
work.
And it's, you could say arbitrary aesthetic to make it a sort of an aesthetic location. But again, why that? Why is she even going in there? Like, why would the guy, here's your studio you can use.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have a place
I
for
don't-
you. Can use here.
It's something that
It's like
looks
why?
pretty dismal. So why don't you come here?
Why not take to the make it
Stay in the
creepier
house.
because that's her
Unless
mom
she
that's
says,
supposed
I
to be
can't
there.
handle this. I was with my mom and she was horrific to me and this just reminds me of her and I think she's going to die soon and I'm going to get out of that house. If she was like, I got to get out of here, that's a different story.
There's
But
no
that's
such thing.
It was never stated. So anyway, she's in this new location. We hear this little girl singing and immediately it's like, okay.
She's not real.
It's like a ghost or something. The first thing you think of is a ghost. Anybody who's watched a lot of horror films knows that when a little child is singing a weird song, it's
And
probably
dressed
a
in a weird
ghost,
way.
or it's not a real. It's definitely not a real life character. Oh, there she is.
Was that
Yeah,
a
it is a spoiler. Where's she come from?
Excuse me.
Who is she?
Little girl.
Little strange girl
Yeah.
blocking her way.
I feel these little girls are changeling.
Wait!
That's a spoiler. And of course, that little girl never interacts with anybody but the protagonist. She walks right past other people.
Yeah.
Never interacts with
So
them.
that's already a big problem, right?
It's-
Because
we
you're
already
kind
know.
of tell us you're kind of
Duh.
telegraphing to your audience that that's not a human being.
Yeah, we don't know what it is yet, but we know it's not a human being. And I believe, I agree with Luis that this is probably the younger version
For
of
sure.
the character.
Yeah.
Now, here's my thought. Remember, you said that you had a interesting
Yeah.
theory. Okay, so kind of bringing this back into who's this little girl. The little girl is kind of nosy and ends up going into the little studio
Apartment
room or
slash
whatever
studio,
it
yeah.
is of the protagonist. In fact, what is the protagonist's name? I don't even remember. But anyway, she goes in and sees the setup, learns about stop motion, and says, "Oh, that's boring." So she basically goes against the mother's.
Yeah.
She's like, "Ew, that's boring."
It's
This- like
Ella, the
Cyclops.
protagonist.
Okay, Ella. This Cyclops character, the more classic stop motion animation that this the mother was world renowned for, she sort of eschews it and says, boring.
Uh-huh.
You need to do something more interesting. So I'm thinking, okay. I got excited thinking, well, maybe there's going to be something interesting here that I'm
Yeah.
going to like even more. But no, I didn't. But anyway, there's the little girl. So she keeps coming back and coaching her and telling her, oh, I've got a story. Here's my story. You need to do my story. And during it seems like the main character's blacking out and somehow creating the story that the little girl wants to see. And the story's in 3 parts. And we don't really know what the third part is, but the first part is that there's, instead of having the Cyclops character sort of on the rocks.
That's all gone.
That's gone. Now there's a different character made up of mortician's wax. You
And
always
meat.
learn something new when you watch film. And there's one little piece of
never heard of
information
that
we got.
either, yeah.
Never heard of mortician's wax. So she starts with the mortician's wax, but she says, oh no, you can't just use the mortician's wax. You have to use meat. You know, again, and it got, for me, when she told her to put like raw meat on the armature of the main character for this new film she was creating that was being directed now she's not being directed by her mother anymore, she's being directed by her younger self.
Yeah, she's really being directed by her uncontrollable impulses.
Okay, now it's meat on the armature. Okay, that's gonna just stink. I mean, I know this is like magical thinking and maybe magical realism, but
It sounds
you know,
like I did some research
we...
and some people actually do use real meat.
Did they? Okay.
In that stuff.
Okay, we'll see.
But it's not common.
That's...
But it is something that's been done.
Okay. Like a Lady Gaga dress, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
That's the first thing we thought, by the way, when
Lady
the
Gaga.
whole meat thing, yeah.
Yeah, but then if you use it in real life, since you now found out, you researched that and you found out that they really use it, they wouldn't be using it for long because it's going to
stop
stink.
motion.
Well, how long does it?
It takes forever.
So why
Maybe
would anybody
use
use
fresh
it?
meat. Maybe have to rebuild them from time to time.
Oh my god.
Maybe put them in the freezer between takes.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe that's what you do.
Yeah,
but
I
that
don't know.
just seems kind of silly. It didn't make the character look any different, really, or better.
It made it a little more visceral. It had some blood that was actual real blood.
You could
it was texture,
put,
right?
Not really, in my opinion. I didn't see that difference. The main storyline for this film, this new stop motion film, is now that you're in the woods are all chopped up. Okay, oh, that's kind of interesting. So it's in the woods. Now I'm thinking of Red Riding Hood, which is so obvious, right? Then you see this new character, not the Cyclops, but a different kind of little girl character. Okay, so the new character, in my opinion, is the girl.
Oh.
Which is sort of representing herself,
the protagonist, maybe. I guess. Yeah.
And that's where the meat
or
is
her mom. Yeah.
being used for the first time. I don't think it's the mom, but that's
well, at
your
the end
opinion.
of the movie, she has blonde hair.
No, I understand that, but it could be. But it to me, it's not the mother. I don't think it has anything to do with it. But you know what? I'm open to that concept, but still, who cares?
It doesn't fully get there anyway.
It's not that great anyway.
Yeah.
So this new character, no longer the mythology, the Cyclops, the Medusa, anything like that. Now it's this kind of general little girl character, we think, who has this horrible sound effects of a cooing baby, and it really drives me crazy. That was another thing I didn't like about the film, sadly. This cooing baby sound of the little girl puppet character was really excruciating for me. I hated it. Then there's this, as you say, the Ash Man. There's this shadowy figure that shakes the woods, and there's a shadow
and chases
and you're
her.
Thinking, oh my gosh, it's some gigantic. I thought because of the way they were showing it, it must be a huge gigantic character who's going to be larger than life. No, it's this little Ash Man about, yay high.
The Ash Man.
Well, he is the Ass Man. And he did cometh. Oh my god. Not very much taller than the main character.
But he was scary to the girl.
Scary to the girl, sure. But not scary to the little girl. Little girl didn't care. Little girl was cold as the grandma.
Yeah.
Sorry, not grandma, but mom. Was in the hospital. I don't know. I just feel like there could have been so many more interesting elements of stop motion being done.
There's definitely a story in there
Not
somewhere that could have worked.
Yeah.
You
So the Ash Man comes and visits. The Ash Man. Oh, the second night the Ash Man
is going to touch her,
and then the third night.
The third night is basically when the protagonist goes crazy, murders 2 people. And I guess we were hoping
Yeah.
she was gonna do some stop motion with the people.
But that happened
But that didn't happen
in real
really.
life. That
Yeah.
didn't happen in the movie.
Yeah.
So this animated film that the little girl is directing, again, the little girl's directing, the mother's directing. She never directs herself. There's never a feeling of it's coming straight from her. Although the little girl is probably her, but her as the little girl, some element of her conscience, right?
Yeah.
But you said, I know why it's boring. I thought you were going to say, for your theory, it's boring because it came from her.
I think it's
'Cause
boring
she has
because
no
it's
talent.
it's boring because it's not high fantasy, it's not mythology, it's not a crafted
It's just her
thing.
horrible life.
It's just a trauma. It's mundane.
But she didn't know.
trauma.
How would she necessarily know her mother was raped?
Her mother told her.
Okay.
The father's barely in the picture.
All
We
right.
hear the father's voice once on the phone.
No.
Yeah.
No, we don't know anything about the father, but the point
Yeah.
the point is, how would she know the origin of her birth? Maybe she knows it, but I think that it's more if we go along with the theory that it's coming from her and that's why it's boring. She keeps being all high and mighty about creativity, and she's the one that doesn't have it. Sadly.
And she doesn't have
She
it
doesn't have it.
because she was never
She's
able
been-
to strike out on her own
Yeah.
without her mom
She's been
behind her
controlled.
calling her a puppet
Yeah.
and basically calling the shots
And
and,
now-
being the star.
Her own self from a young age is controlling her.
Yeah, it's
now,
knocking on her
which
door
is
and saying,
weird.
either you face this trauma or you're going to be controlled by it.
Well,
which is exactly
she
what
was
kinda
controlled by
happens.
it, but I think that but the little girl wanted her to. The little girl was very happy at the end. The little girl directed her, and the little girl is apparently her. Maybe she does have some autonomy if she directs herself. Now the main character is some little girl made of paste and meat. And now the Ashman comes and it visits her. Night 1. Night 2, Ashman comes, touches her. Night 3, Ashman comes and you're saying rapes her. That's your
I have
idea.
to say that
right?
the only way this works dramatically
At all. Yeah.
is if the Ashman represents an older adult male who's a predator
Okay.
and who visits 3 times, and on the
Okay.
3rd time does something horrible,
Okay.
either to the mother or to the daughter herself,
All right.
which is why this would be a repressed memory.
So night 2, in reality, when they and I don't know if I was clear and I said that she blacks out every time she's creating this film. There's some blurring of the lines of reality and fantasy. All right, so
Yeah.
there's a cause and effect. So the night 2, the Ashman comes and touches the main character in the stop motion film. Oh, I've got a cut in my leg.
A big cut.
I
yeah.
gotta go to the hospital. So she ends up in the hospital. All this stuff happens. She finds out, and at the point she finds out that her mother, in the same hospital, has died.
That's it.
So that
She's gone.
happens. Okay. So now there's some reality, fantasy, blurring of the lines, and you're thinking, oh, that's kind of maybe something interesting will happen. Okay. Night 3, little girl goes, well, you don't know what happens on night 3 yet. Ashman comes and something else happens on night 3. Well, we don't really ever find out. Luis does have his theory. But then we see that night 3, she comes over and lays all this stuff out. We think, okay, it's going to be body horror because there's a bunch of metallic stuff laid out. And we think she's going to do all these crazy things to herself because she's literally jamming her finger into her cut.
Yeah, she's opening her cut,
Oh yeah,
cutting
she
through the
takes out all the
stitches.
stitches, and you're thinking, okay, what is she gonna do? Is she gonna transform herself into a stop motion puppet? That's all it was. She just had a bad trip.
I didn't touch it.
Oh.
Oh.
That's how I feel. You can't even look through the door. So weak.
It's not a man. It's just some creature.
The Ashman.
Ashman. And again,
She actually
why?
plucks a tendon out, I think, at some point.
Right. Well, who shows up? Her boyfriend and her boyfriend's sister.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, we should talk a little bit more about more about the sister and her attitude and stuff, because that was important too. So they come up the steps and they're like, oh no, and they're like trying to save her and everything. They put a tourniquet on her and all this stuff, and then she ends up
She fights
killing
back,
both of them.
and she kills the sister using one of the camera tripod,
Stick it in her
some,
trachea.
with some gurgling sound effects.
Yeah.
And she kicks her boyfriend down a set of stairs.
And then proceeds to...
And then proceeds to asphyxiate him.
Yes.
I'm wondering why he didn't fight back, because
was-
it's not like he was dead already.
No, it was
But-
just really like...
But now
wow.
you have this movie ending with basically 2 dead bodies, which we think are going to be used as puppets, but are not.
That's the thing. They didn't take the stop motion idea very far. It was almost like a vehicle for, I guess, the director, who has done a lot of stop motion, to show some other stop motion in a horror setting. But it didn't work. They made some promises. They had a promise at the beginning with the interesting flashing lights. They made a promise at this point that we're talking about, where she lays stuff out on the table, or on the ground, I guess. And we thought she was going to transform herself into an interesting stop motion meat puppet.
At the end, she ends up
know?
looking like the character, the young girl from the second story at the end, and the other character looks like her mom
It's just,
with the blonde hair.
we know that there's something going on with the main character, the protagonist, and bottom line, obviously she's not mentally well, and she ends up murdering people at the end. She's blacking out. She's not. She's her reality and fantasy are blurring. It's just a mess. She's seeing whatever this little girl represents, which is possibly her younger self, is being directed. She feels like a puppet. She feels like she has
Like
no
a psychotic
agency.
break, I guess, or something.
She feels like she has no agency. And maybe when her mother went into the hospital, that happened. Okay. So her boyfriend is like, I know a lot's going on with you. Why don't you come to the agency, my sister's agency, and have a change of pace, work on what they're doing. And she gets invited to go in there, and after she already told the sister, or her boyfriend's sister, I would never do that. I wouldn't be caught dead in a place like that. I would never want to work there. She goes there.
Yeah.
And so thinking, okay, maybe she's going to start sort of melding in with the real world a little bit, even if she doesn't fully want to do that. Maybe she'll spark some creativity. And she already had shown her boyfriend's sister some of the film that she was working on, and the sister thought it was kind of cool. And she's like, that's interesting. This might be something that we could utilize.
That we can pitch to our client.
So she gets there to the office at this agency. They are setting up something with stop motion. And that's what they do, apparently. The creative
One of the
agency.
things they do, yeah.
Okay. She's ready to go. She's standing. She knows exactly what to do. She's done it forever. She's done it with her mom. She's done it with her on her own. So they set her up. She thinks she's being set up in this area where they're doing stop motion, very similar to what she has at her studio. And then they go, oh, no, you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be creating eyeballs.
Yeah.
And they put her in a corner and have her create a bunch of eyeballs using certain specifications for characters, where she has to roll.
Yeah,
just roll it up.
They have to be 7
Like,
millimeters.
Something that an
long.
intern could
Yeah.
do. So it's humiliating. She had already sort of humiliated her boyfriend's sister by saying, I wouldn't be caught dead working there. So it almost seemed like somewhat of retaliation.
It is.
She also made a smart remark later about her boyfriend not really being a musician. You can tell she's a snob. But anyway, they put her in the corner. It's almost like putting her in her place. You just roll up the eyeballs. You're not your mom, And then she comes back to the area. She's done with the eyeballs. She comes back to the area where they were setting up this stage, so to speak, for the film that the little film that they're working on, the animated film, stop motion. And she starts seeing that there's some similarity. She sees woods, but they're not as scraggly as her woods. They're cleaner looking. She sees a character in the woods. It's a blonde character, by the way, I think.
Yeah.
And then she looks at reference images tacked to a board next to that area, and she sees reference images from her own
They're
film.
pictures of the second film in production.
The one that she's
set.
been working on with her younger
Younger
self,
self.
we think, or whatever this little character is. And she's livid.
She loses it. Yeah.
Yeah, she loses it. Understandably so. She's not getting any sort of, we think she was not asked to do that. No permission was asked. So there's this idea of artistic integrity and artistic sort of theft, which I thought was
and it's
interesting.
literally theft because the sister basically by getting the protagonist to work at the production company and then accept payment for whatever she's doing at the production company, she basically was trying legally to take ownership of that idea.
Yeah.
She's gonna say, well, you're working for us when you're working on this film, therefore we can use it.
Yeah, she did
It's-
say, well, we were going to pay you for it, but
it's-
it doesn't matter. There was
It's
no
so
permission.
underhanded,
Yeah.
and it's something that happens all the time, particularly with
Right.
startups and things like that. So it's kind of fascinating. I'm pretty sure the director has gone through something similar.
Yes.
I think.
And to
in
know what
his
it's
life.
like to be an artist. You
Yeah.
know, again, we're both artists, so we know what it's like to be in a position where, hey, you know, you're not taking my creative IP and using it for something else.
Yeah.
And she's already feels like she's above the whole ad agency, creative agency type of work. And here her
Yeah.
quote unquote magnum opus or whatever she's working on is being utilized as reference. Like, oh no, it's not the same thing at all. This is cleaner. We're doing something cleaner. It's completely different.
We smarted it up or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what she
So
said.
anyway, that I thought that was intriguing, but again, it still doesn't allow me to give the movie a thumbs up.
No, not enough.
Ultimately, for me, it's a thumbs down. I guess for you, it's still
For me, it's like
somewhat of a
in
thumbs up.
between, but tentative thumbs up. I think the biggest problem with this movie is the characters.
Yeah.
I think you can't relate to anyone. The protagonist is a cold fish, basically, and you don't really care what happens to her.
Yeah.
You don't empathize with anyone. The locations are very cold and very kind of not
Bland.
Bland. No, the word I'm trying to think. Austere and kind of downtrodden. You know,
Yeah.
It's not like a place where you can imagine yourself.
It doesn't feel real.
Being there. Well, yeah, exactly.
It feels like a soundstage
It's,
almost,
like, it's
but
not.
it's not.
It's not something that you would be
Yeah.
if you could choose to be there. You know,
Right.
it's so because it's so unrelatable.
Yeah, we can't relate to it. You're
in
right.
every single aspect. The human beings don't really behave like human beings. Even the
No.
boyfriend is almost like a
Just-
caricature. He's like a puppet
Yeah,
himself.
he's like a puppet too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it becomes very hard for the audience to hook into anything.
Yeah.
You know, we
No
in the
reality.
beginning, the dynamic between mother and
We don't
daughter
ground.
was
Nothing's
something
grounded.
that we could hold on to because everybody has a mother at some point in their life, whether they're alive or they're
And we
not
can
here
see
anymore.
that this is a horrible mother-daughter relationship.
And we would
want to
immediately
explore
empathize
that.
and relate to that. But if the mother gets taken
Yeah.
out of the picture so quickly, now we're just left the protagonist.
But we don't know why. We don't know why the relationship is like that. We absolutely don't. So that's a problem too. So even if the mother is taken out of the picture, if we can explore why the mother has treated her like that, the mother could have died at the beginning of the movie, and it still would have been a good movie if indeed we had more information on what had gone on in the past between the mother and daughter. But we don't
Yeah.
have any of that. We have nothing.
So
to go on.
we have characters that no one can relate to, unless I guess you're a stop motion artist yourself. Even then, it's going to be a stretch, I think. You know, and you have locations that don't seem realistic
Some
enough.
like boxes, yeah.
So we always see them
we get
from
distracted.
we see them from a distance.
Yeah, we also get distracted
Always.
when, and I don't want to go against film. I know this is probably a fairly low budget film, but because I'm always in favor of indie filmmaking, but you can do a lot with a little, and I feel that the decisions that were being made here didn't work, and I also feel that Robert
Morgan's the director.
Okay, didn't necessarily have an extensive horror filmmaking background.
I think he has a lot of experience making horror shorts
Yeah, it
with
just
stop motion.
it was to anybody who has watched a lot of horror films, nothing was surprising, nothing was shocking. The use of sound, a soundscape, a feeling of ambiance really wasn't there visually or in an audio fashion. And the stop motion was, in my opinion, in some ways was tacked on. It didn't integrate with the plot of the film very well, and there wasn't much of a storyline that really
There's
worked.
not enough crossover between
Yeah.
the stop motion.
Not
And like
enough
they
creativity.
early on in the movie, they had this really cool sequence where she's looking at the set and the creature, the thing,
Oh my gosh.
the thing is not moving.
You're right.
But then in the monitor, you see it move.
it moved. That was
You know?
I am so
Jeannie
glad
really
you
perked up
mentioned
when that happened.
I thought, ooh,
We're like,
something
okay,
is gonna
something's gonna happen, yeah.
here. That was
Nope.
fabulous, and it was done for us. That's it. Ooh.
Oh shit!
Ooh, okay. Oh. All right, that's interesting.
Someone's in
I have
now.
to say what's happening, that this character started to move in the monitor, but not in reality, apparently. So we don't know how that could possibly be happening, unless it was a previous... Yeah, it's clearly moving. That's neat. I like that, but I don't know what it means. It was done once. You know how many interesting things could have happened from that?
Yeah.
So, okay, so things that worked. The very, very beginning with all the lights, that worked really well. What Luis just mentioned was unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
So,
You were the mother controlling the daughter too, almost like a puppet master.
and maybe
worked
she
as
was
well.
controlling her while she was in her coma or something.
Yeah.
We thought that would have been interesting too. Something that we didn't talk about. She visits her mom at one point, and she starts taking pictures of her mom's hand, and it's maybe one of the hands that was the hand that was more arthritic, I guess, and it was moving like this earlier. She takes her hand and she starts stop motion animating it, meaning she was just taking pictures of the hand and just moved her hand
and
very
making slight
slightly.
adjustments.
And then her mother sort of criticizes her. She apparently, wakes up out of her coma and criticizes her. We think she's in a coma. The point is, she was lying there in the hospital bed. She criticized her after she was doing the stop motion on her hand. So she's like, "Oh yeah, you don't know what you're doing. You don't do anything of your own accord. You're being controlled. You're just a puppet." And she actually used the word puppet after she had already been calling her a poppet.
Which makes it kind of obvious that the filmmakers were using puppet early on
Yeah.
to suggest that the protagonist is a puppet.
Right.
Kind of on the nose
So
there.
very much on the nose. And then the other element that made me think something cool was going to happen, and it didn't, is when she was laying all these interesting, what looked like an armature all put apart or taken apart, like an erector set or something. And I thought she was going to put it on herself because she took off the stitches. I thought she was going to start attaching stuff. I thought it was going to be like an interesting metallic,
Yeah.
like I said, metallic meat puppet type of situation with her, and that she was going to turn herself into a stop motion character, or maybe turn one of the two people she ended up killing
And animating them.
but that didn't happen.
Nope.
So that was another issue.
So
could have been so much more
There's
interesting.
so many missed opportunities, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what breaks my heart on this one.
So I give, sadly, stop motion a thumbs down. You, Luis, will give it a...
I give it a tentative, very slight thumbs up.
Okay.
Like watch
So-
knowing it's not going to be like this amazingly scary horror movie.
I don't know if we're going to call this a neutral verdict. I
Yeah.
guess we have to.
I think it's worth watching if you're interested in cinema. It's not worth watching if you really want a scary horror movie.
I don't know. I think even as a cinematic experience, it was very lacking. But that's my opinion. All right. Okay. Anything else you want to say before we
No.
go away?
I think that's it.
Toodaloo. All right.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.